So I wanted to share a little bit about three things around leadership lessons that I've learned on my own journey. So obviously, if you listen to what I said about describing the business, and I said it transited over time, there are multiple parts of that journey where I've learned lessons. There are many lessons I've learned. I'm a product of lessons that I've learned, leadership lessons that I've learned from interaction with other leaders. One of the leaders that that's most influential in my life is first of all, my husband. Obviously, this is the person I see every day for the last 21 years, but also he's such an exemplary leader. So whatever it is that you see through the screens when you do interact with him, it's just 1% of how amazing a human he is. Kindness, devotion, commitment to his country, passion for Nigeria and the continent is uncanny and infectious, and he is super, super hopeful and full of faith about what can happen and about this country. He prays for Nigeria. His children are patriots, and they're patriots not because they're not surrounded with friends who don't believe in Nigeria, but they're patriots simply because of the example that their father leads. And so Fela has played a significant role in lessons that I have learned by proximity. But I've also learned lessons by my instincts. I'm very intuitive. I've come to realize that the instincts that we have is God-given as a gift. And as such, we must of necessity listen to, hear, and respond. There are many decisions, many philosophies that I've adopted, many decisions, philosophies, and also business practices that I have adopted, not because I learned them anywhere, but simply because there was a gut feeling in my heart saying that this is what I should be doing, how I should be doing it, and some of the beliefs that I have. But also, my leadership journey has also been shaped by my faith. I'm a Christian, and my Christianity and my faith is a significant part of my everyday life. I spend quite a significant amount of my day in prayer, in meditation to God. That also shapes my beliefs, how I see leadership, and because one of the important tools that as Christians that we apply on a daily basis is the Bible. It's the instructions from our manual, and that's the Bible. And many things we learn from the Bible, we have to learn how to apply on our everyday life. And that's what the Bible is really for as Christians. It's a manual that teaches us our values, teaches us our principles, and teaches us how to behave. So relationships with leaders has shaped my leadership lessons. My instincts has shaped my leadership lessons. My faith has shaped my leadership lessons. But lastly, books, materials have shaped my leadership lessons. I listen to a podcast almost every day. One podcast that I listen to undoubtedly every week is the podcast hosted by Craig Groeschel. Craig Groeschel, pastor of the Lifeway Bible Church, is also the founder of the YouVersion Bible, the Bible app that many of us use, those of us who are Christians and want to have our Bibles on our phones. His organization, a sub-organization from his church, designed that app. He has thank you very much, Craig Groeschel. He has a podcast that is very short, very quick, I think less than 20 minutes, every day sharing leadership. He has leadership conversations. And if you do have the time to listen to it, please do listen to it. It's part of my routines on a daily basis, almost on a daily basis I listen. And I've learned a lot of things from him. Even though he's a teacher, he's a Bible teacher, but he also, that platform is more of a secular platform. And so he's teaching based on running an organization. And of course, many of the things that lessons, and sometimes people that he hosts are people of faith who share our faith as well, who share my faith. And so I can connect on multiple levels. That podcast is one, but two, through books. One of the books that has shaped my principles, my business philosophies around building a business for the long term is a book written by Jim Collins. Jim Collins has a book called Good to Great and Build to Last. So Good to Great is one level of the book, is part one, and then Build to Last is part two. That book I read maybe about 7 years ago. very significant in shaping how I saw business and the importance of building to last. The second book I'd like to share is Defying the Odds. This is a research-based book by Leap Africa. So Leap Africa is leadership, accountability, effectiveness, and productivity, I think, productivity. It's a foundation that was founded by Ndidi Wuneli MFR. That organization did a research of 12 Nigerian companies that have outlived their founders. And some of the cases that was referenced in the book include Punch newspapers, Corona schools, Orazulike group of companies that we now know as Genesis, FG and Okoye, that we also know as Red Star or FedEx logistic company. Defying the Odds covered 12 Nigerian companies, 7up Nigeria as well. And in this book, they highlight Nigerian companies that have outlived their founders. In the same vein, Built to Last showcases 18 American companies, American corporations. Many of them have done 2 decades and more, in some cases, transgenerational CEOs. And very, very, very notable in shaping my business philosophies around building to last. And so with all this information that I have, I'm going to share just 3 things that I will consider leadership lessons, of course, amongst many others, but for the sake of time, and I get bored talking when I'm talking about with my own voice, I get bored. So I'm going to be very quick and sharp so that I don't fall asleep while speaking out of boredom. So if you just write these 3 things down: impact, building, and service. Impact, building, and service. This is one of my favorite things to say about leadership. Leadership is a privilege, and I'm grateful to have the chance to be able to influence, to be able to have a voice. I see myself as a member of an agenda that is divine, and I consider it a privilege that I'm part of those that have been showcased, highlighted to be a voice. So I consider leadership a privilege, and leadership for me is not positional, and I'm sure many of you already know this, but I'd like to reiterate it. Leadership is not positional. I started to lead at a very early age. I started to influence at a very early age. I was in secondary school in Nigerian Navy Secondary School, Ojo. I was in Command Primary School in Victoria Island, and both schools, for those who know or have heard of me in those schools, I was a leader already. And it's not because, as they say, positions give me leadership, because I was not a monitor, I was not a class monitor, I wasn't a class captain. But what I know is that we all have capacity to influence one person or the other. And I'm sure we also know that we've influenced one person or the other, whether it was in primary school, negative or positive, influence somebody in secondary school for positive or for negative, to influence somebody in university. That is what makes you a leader. And to be considered one whose voice, whose character, whose values can be emulated, it is a privilege.